It is great to see Felicia Spencer back here on the program. She's going to be taking on Leah Letson coming up here at UFC Fight Night on November 20th. Felicia, how's it going?
It's going great. It's a great Monday. Last tough week of training before we head out.
Yeah, it is good to see you back. Good to see you in the featherweight division. Let's start there first. Was there any worries after that last fight about, we're hearing rumblings about the division closing and everything. How worried were you after that last fight?
I wasn't really worried. It was just something like, if I did find out that news, then I would just, take it in stride and move on. So, that wasn't the case. So I was just enjoying my time after and, living my life,
Yeah.
and then got the opportunity to fight again. So, always happy to have an opportunity to put my best foot forward.
And I imagine you signed a 4-fight deal, right? If I'm not mistaken, because I know that was one of the things was, I think it was the last fight in your contract. I think the last time we spoke.
Yeah, I actually was thinking about it. I signed a 4-fight deal before I fought Nunes. So this is, I think, my third fight actually on the contract, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, interesting. Okay, no, you probably you'd know better than me. I mean, you're the one who signs the contract, so
I've gone back and forth in my head, like I've tricked myself into remembering which I haven't really gone back into my emails and looked to be certain, but I'm pretty sure that was the timeline. I got the contract before I fought Nunes. So.
Okay, good. Well, either way, you got to be a little bit encouraged. They are booking some featherweight fights. There's a lot of, and then we'll get to the division a bit later, but it seems a bit promising, right? I mean, they made Aspen Ladd and Norman Dumont, not that long ago. So it seems like they are sort of building up this division a bit.
Yeah, no, I'm really hoping that Aspen continues, to fight at featherweight. I think, she had a, an off night, but I feel like she belongs in the division, and I hope that they'll, be able to book her again soon, with another opponent.
So you're taking on Leah Letson, someone who's been out of the cage for a while. I know she's had some health issues. First, your thoughts on her as an opponent, coming from the Ultimate Fighter.
I think she's super well-rounded, I'd say probably more of a striker than a grappler, but still really skilled on the ground. I think she's a purple belt. So she's been, the thing is, without seeing anything that she's done for the last 3 years, it's kind of like a mystery for, what is she going to come out looking like? What is she going to favor? So it's kind of, a focus on, what I'm going to do more than what I expect her to look like. But I mean, there's nothing bad you can say about her. She's in the armed forces. There's literally nothing bad I can say about her. She seems super nice. She's a great, skilled athlete, and I'm expecting a really tough opponent. There's probably something else to mention is just how tough she is. Just the mindset of a fighter that she has, and it'll definitely be tough for either of us to get finished in that fight. But I definitely intend to be finishing her in that fight.
And you're fighting like an actual featherweight too, right? Like Leah, she fought at 145 in the Ultimate Fighter. It's not like you're fighting someone who's coming up or whatever. So that's obviously makes it a lot more exciting of a fight as well. Anything different for this training camp in terms of preparation for Leah Letson?
There's always little tweaks and changes and new habits, new things that I'm into. But as far as major changes, not really. Kind of just back to the drawing board, from the last fight and just putting in the work again. No big changes with coaching or teammates or anything. Obviously each opponent has different teammates that kind of help me more during camp. So there's, different people that I'm working with, in addition to who I used to work with. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it. Still just doing all the facets of MMA, adding in the yoga, adding in the cardio, all the usual.
Any cross training this camp, or has it been mainly at home base for this one?
Mainly at the jungle. I do have my striking coach. He's been a long time striking coach, but he's not based in the jungle. So I do go out for working with him a few times a week, and but yeah, basically home base at the jungle. Lots of great talent there. Everyone's pushing me, and kind of this camp. I guess one thing a little bit different with this camp is I've been definitely more of a, I guess I don't want to say less is more, but a little bit of that. I'm doing less of the regular classes that I just do for enjoyment, just going to regular kickboxing, jiu-jitsu classes. Because when I'm there, I want to have more of a, focused mindset and just go in and get the job done and kind of not mix up my mind with casual training and intense training. So that's a little bit different. This camp is just kind of bringing that out. So I haven't been hanging out as much at the gym, but still been putting in the work.
And weight cut, I'm sure, is going well. It usually does for you. You never really had an issue making 45.
Yeah, no, everything's pretty much on track, and yeah, it's never fun, but I know I'll be able to get the job done.
Your corner, will that be the same as well?
I switched, last time Seth was with me, Seth Petruzzelli. This time I'm going to have my husband back in the corner.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, there's just been a little bit less training with Seth for many different reasons. Biggest of which is he's been doing really well with a new dojo that he opened up down the road, and also just stuff. Sometimes, even though Todd's my husband, so like he kind of knows my mindset, and he definitely like he's in my head more than anybody else, and I didn't realize like maybe that's a good thing to have in my corner. Someone that can read my mind and like speak up for me. Like I'm just not the type of person that always like, say what's on my mind to even to my corner, or just, tell, Todd's going to tell it to me straight, and, just keep me in a good mindset. He can see when I'm anxious or too excited, or, whatever the case may be. So I think it'll be a good asset.
And how do you envision the fight playing out on November 20th?
As much as I love the first round finish, like less than a minute of work in the cage, I expect to be sweating in this one. I expect to be working hard. But at the same time, I think after the first round, I'll be able to, finish, feel her out. And then I think in the middle of the second round, I'll be able to finish her. I expect on the ground, if I was a betting person, I would say I'd probably be winning on the ground.
I mentioned it. We were talking about this off air. I know you've been doing a lot of work for Fight Bananas, doing some video content on there. How has that been, just doing some of the on-air stuff? I mean, we've done a lot of interviews, but it's been pretty cool to see you kind of, being an analyst now.
Yeah, I love it. I look forward to it. Some weeks I'm remembering last minute that, we have our time to do it, and I got to do some research, but I always try to take it seriously and like really dive into the picks and everything. Sorry, I got a phone call from Todd. Yeah, I'm loving it. I would love to, continue to do that. And, I hope that Fight Bananas like platform really takes off and it can be a big thing, and I'll always be a part of it. It'll be nice to be there from the beginning, and, it's nice to kind of put your foot in the door of that, that world of MMA. It's something I'm definitely interested in doing, and I love talking about it. I love talking to fun people about the sport and about the fighters and just my perspective. So, yeah, I'm excited about it.
And putting your analyst hat on for a second, as someone who has shared the cage with both Amanda Nunes and Cris Cyborg, who do you think has the bigger claim to saying they're the greatest women's fighter of all time? I know Amanda's beat Cris, but Cris has obviously had a pretty decorated career where she didn't lose for years, whereas Nunes had a few losses. So I wanted to get your take on this as someone who's fought both.
Yeah, that's a really tough one. It's hard to say. They're kind of from different eras. We're kind of catching Cyborg on the back end, but I say that, but she's killing it in Bellator, which has some pretty good competition. She beat Julia Budd. That's one of the highest level 145ers there's been in the last 10 years. So it's really tough to say. I mean, Nunes, the thing that she has going for her is that she's beat, Rousey and Holm, and all of the UFC featherweight and bantamweight champions have been beaten by Amanda Nunes now. But yeah, the track record and I still talk about Cyborg like a past thing, but it's still a present thing. So I think we have to wait on what happens in the next few years with saying who's really the best out of those two. So I'll put her.
I was going to say that's a very Canadian answer on that one, but that's fine. That's fine. I don't mind it as someone who's also Canadian.
Once they're both retired, I love it.
Okay, fair enough. We'll revisit that then. And speaking of Nunes, there's been some talk of, nothing against Juliana Pena, but obviously, if Nunes comes out on top in that one, who's next? And I think a lot of people Kind of want to see that trilogy fight between Valentina Shevchenko and Amanda Nunes. I realized Nunes has beat Shevchenko twice, but that second fight was pretty close. If that fight was to happen, do you favor Amanda in that one, or do you think Valentina, with the improvements she's made and everything else, do you see her being able to get the better of Amanda if they had a third fight?
I'm one that doesn't care to see this fight. I think Valentina is like a lot lighter, and it's kind of just an unfair way to look at it. But um, she's such an animal for her weight class and for the weight class above her too. I don't know. I'd probably put Amanda if I had to pick. Historically, with trilogies, whoever wins the second fight wins the third fight, and I think it was the first fight that was, or no, the second fight was the close one, right?
Yeah,
The
it was really close.
one. So that kind of like makes it hard.
Okay, no, I like the honesty.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't know. She's looked better and better as her years have gone, and I mean the same can be said for Valentina. So this is just a fight I don't really care to see. I want both of them to have like their own resume and be the greatest, in their divisions and not have to see each other.
There you go. Like the honesty on that. I mentioned Aspen Ladd earlier. I know she and other people have sort of felt this way as well about Kayla Harrison, right? Obviously, she's in PFL. She keeps winning. She keeps getting those $1 million checks. But there is some talk about this time, maybe her going to the UFC. Some have felt like, the division sort of needs someone like that. With Cyborg leaving, with Nunes, who knows how much longer she's going to fight. Do you think that's the case? Do you think the UFC needs Kayla Harrison for that division? Not putting any shade on you, but, in general, she is, garnering a lot of attention.
For sure, she is. I mean, it would be an asset to the division for sure to have Kayla. Do they need her? I don't think they need anybody, per se. Maybe they need Amanda right now. We probably wouldn't exist without Amanda. But yeah, I think that's the only person that the UFC really needs right now. As far as the best option for Kayla, that's going to be a personal choice for her. Like, are you going to follow the financial, assets there, or are you going to follow the go for something that you haven't done yet, to see if you can build that part of your legacy? So that's going to be the waiting game to see what Kayla decides. But I think the UFC is kind of putting things out so that they have enough leverage to not have to pay out the butt with trying to get her. I don't think they're going to offer like what she would want, so who knows what actually happens. But
what have you thought of Kayla's run in PFL so far? I mean, it's been very impressive, but, obviously not fighting some of the fighters that, you would see in your weight class in the UFC. Just your overall thoughts on what Kayla's done.
I mean, I think she looks great, and she's fighting tough opponents, like people, oh yeah, they're a little smaller, maybe their records aren't as big, or they don't have as much experience, but a lot of them are still really skilled athletes that had a shot, like they're huge underdogs, but we see it all the time, underdogs winning, and every single one of those people that she faced could have beaten her, if something had happened differently, if she made a mistake. But it's just a testament to Kayla that she's not making those mistakes, and she's she's fully capable of being really successful. So she's been showing that, and I think she'll continue to show her skill set, how it's rounding out, and I think she's definitely a threat to the lightweight and the featherweight division.
How would a fight between you and her go? I'm sure you've thought of it, because, there's been some talk of her coming over to the UFC style-wise. I mean, how do you look at that fight between you two?
I mean, I haven't thought a lot about it, just because it is like in a different, I just personally, I don't think that she will come to the UFC, because I think that the $1 million over and over again is so appealing. But, it would be interesting to train for her, because she would be like the highest level, I think, grappler that I would have faced, which is like kind of an anomaly, with the division that I'm in. So, I feel like it would be really interesting to game plan around, making sure that being on the ground, that we're safe, on top especially, or just really like using strikes and kicks and stuff like that. I'm a pretty decent kicker, so maybe tapping into some of that part of my game a little more heavily than I normally would.
Have you ever met her before? Because she's also based in Florida.
I have not, no.
There you go. Interesting. All right. Well, Felicia, thank you so much for doing this. It's always a pleasure. Anyone you want to thank, any sponsors, any social media, I'll give you the last word.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, I definitely want to thank my team, everyone at the Jungle, and just all the support I've gotten in Orlando in general. Also, I'm about to be coming out with some new headbands. I don't have any in front of me, but you can go to thephenom.com to get my old headbands, my old T-shirts, and my new headbands that are going to be tie-dyed in various colors. So I'm excited to see the outcome, to see them. I'm going to be getting them in a couple days and be selling them on the website. So you can rock your Phenom gear.